friends, this is Jazz, bringing you another Pokemon Crimson Fury review, Chapter 12, Diverging Paths. Now guys, just a heads up, this one is a bit longer than the last one, and my processing ability isn't great, so I'm sorry if I missed some things out. But we will say we do start with them looking, Ryan and Addison, looking for Matt in Crafter, Forest. Having no luck, Ryan is almost desperate to find him, but Sandrew is hungry and tired, and as he convinces him to let things happen, like to go to the Pokemon Center and rest, and then we can figure it out from there. And he agrees after a while. They're just talking about things, and Addison's joking that Ryan is Mama Ryan, to Sandrew, and just before he retorts, his mother calls, and they end up talking. She teasingly says, "How's my grandson?" And she starts on it. She said, "Don't start," and then she said, "Oh, well, Matthew told me," and then he asked, "Have you heard from Matthew?" And she says, "What, isn't he not with you?" She said, "No, he lost Tori, and he was upset. Maybe it was something that Dad said." And she's like, "What did your father say to you two?" She said, "Oh, about not letting the family down, and blush." And I told him not, she was just livid of what Robert, their father, said. But she said that she'll talk to, the father and Matt. He said, "Well, what are we going to do about him?" She said, "Don't worry, your brother's a rebel. He knows how to take care of himself." So I'll talk to him. She said at this point not to worry and to let her handle it. So that is what happens in this situation. They leave after he say that he wanted everything, and surprisingly and tragically, this is all we hear of Ryan and Addie. This was Ryan and Addie in this situation, in this chapter. So now we go over to Courtney. I will insert a picture, any new character, I'll insert a picture, but this time is an actual picture of Courtney, because this is the Courtney from Team Magma. So I can actually include an actual game picture or an anime picture, which I will. And she is there, sitting there, thinking of her plans and what went wrong with Team Magma, Rye and Maxie, and how this time she's not going to let anyone in the syndicate take, to push her aside, that she's trying to think of someone else to rule with, like she wants to actually rule everything, right? And what better than the one that she's trying to, confuse and disorient, which is Michael, by the way. They want her to take care of Michael in that way, and she's having all these, plans and fantasies, almost in a way. Suddenly we hit a new character, which will be very important in the whole series later on, but I actually made a picture for Jocelyn Ace. They go and they talk, "Oh, why are you just idling around?" And she's like, and then if one person you don't want to make mad besides my father, it's me, and blah blah, She said, "Relax, Jocelyn, I'm working on my plan." She's trying to think of how to, she can't just march in and kidnap Michael, with all the family and loved ones he has. They should be this smart retort. You can't just walk in past your professor friend, which is Julia, and pull him away. It would not be that easy. And to be fair, as much as she had that smart retort, it's still correct to not be done that rashly. Unlike Matthew, she is she thinks for the most part before she acts. That's her thing. And then Jocelyn isn't there long in this chapter, just to kind of, whine, and not whine, but growl at Courtney, and she'll just go, and she eventually does, right? It just kind of describes Courtney. It kind of describes Jocelyn, and then just a few, as I said, retorts between them. And then, pretty much, she still thinks about, why can't she listen to her father, teach her to keep her in line, and blah blah blah. I know, I just, so, like, I don't know why, I'm sorry, it's because of my processing, the part with Courtney and those things kind of are harder for me to remember than a lot of the other actions, so I still made over the main point. She was thinking of her days with Team Magma, how Maxie abandoned her, how she's going to try to rule the Syndicate when things go right with the Grandmaster, which is brought up in this chapter. She's planning to recruit Michael as her side, her partner, and her having a spat with Jocelyn, pretty much. That's the main gist of everything in that section, in a way. Now, we get to a Matt section. Yes, we see Matthew in this chapter. Not as long, though, and we also see Lena and Lily in this section. That's one of the shorter sections next to the first section with Addie and Ryan, maybe a little shorter, too. And Matthew is training his Tyrogue and Eevee, and he's just so harsh on them. They're looking for his approval because they're knocking out wild Pokemon after wild Pokemon, Seedot and Rattata mostly. He said, we can't celebrate until we beat Tori. And we can't disappoint the family, like, again. Like, he'll never be weak now or ever again, is his mindset, right? Like, his father's words are ringing in his head. We see where he is there mentally. He just feels, what's the best word? Angry that he wasn't strong enough to beat her, right? Not realizing it wasn't strength that was his issue, but the fact that he rushed, he didn't tactically, like, if he had accepted the gift, he would have had a better chance of succeeding. He has power, he just doesn't have strategy at this point. And that was his downfall, I think, in that previous battle. But he's still going on power. He has to be strong enough. He has to knock them out, right? And he's just, everything is in his head from his father's lecture about them, being, what's the right word? Disappointing the family, right? And he feels overshadowed by Ryan, especially because he won and he didn't against Tori. So that part was pretty much that section. But with Lily and Lena are watching them, and notices Ryan isn't there, Addison, the other boy isn't there, and they're discussing that they're going to tell Nadine that they're going to try to, beat the brat who beat them, right, and such. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do about Matt? They said, we'll leave it to leave him. They're going to leave him for now, but ask Courtney if he'll be of value to them. Which, would they say, and not spoiling for those who have just seen this through YouTube, but honestly, you've probably read the series if you're watching this, so, but I'm still not going to spoil it. But they say this is all going to also come back in the whole series. So let us say that is where Matt's section ends, pretty much. Him training his two Pokemon, Lily and Lena discussing about what to do between Matt and then with Ryan and talking to Nadine. So on our final section of this chapter, it is probably one of the longest next to Courtney's. Courtney's was probably the longest and the hardest for me. But it is with Leonard. This is the lawyer, which I will not include a picture this time. I don't know why, I just can't think of a way to describe him. But he is the lawyer who is related to Mike's father. We'll just put it this way. They're discussing what to do with the trial with Cassius and like how they're going to handle it. And Michael is just like saying, what can he do? And he said, well, it's hard, right? Because besides being the mad scientist, he has everything together, right? And Michael's like, well, and he's trying to run for something, like, I forget what it is, like states, I don't know what it is. I don't know this political thing. So he's running, like, Leonard's running for something important. So to him, And Michael said, oh, well, if it's too much to you for me, just, not in a pleasant way, but he said, no, he says, I'm not like your mother's family. I want to still do it for what's right. He's usually looked at for doing things for the right reason. He said, I'm going to do something about it, like there was a witness or something, but he's in danger, so they didn't want to work with him, and then he didn't want to work with Giselle, which we see earlier, because she might ask for prison time off. So they're figuring out what to do, but Michael did reveal that he doesn't want to do anything else right now, being part of it. He wants to leave the further meetings for Cameron and Leonard because he's too close to the case. Now, if he has to be called as a witness, yes, he will do that. But they agreed to let Cameron handle future affairs that way. And that will be his last meeting. Oh, and Piper is there too. Right, I did forget to mention she's the Queen of Arcana. And she was saying, well, what are we going to do? Like she said, he tells her that no, he'd rather not handle it in future occasions. So Leonard leaves and Piper's like, so, where's my sister? He said, in the room doing, work. She said, well, good, I need to ask you something. And then they're like, what's up, right? And then she's like, well, when are you going to marry her? You should ask her to marry Julie or to marry you. I'm like, he's like, said, you have been dating for 10 years, together for 10 years. He said, I just don't want to drag her into everything because he's in the Pokemon League and that. She's like, well, like, the point is, Piper is on Michael's case about marrying her. She loves being with him. She wants to be with him for life, right? So he should. And then he thinks about it, and then he's like, baby, she leaves, and then he's like, what do you, and he's with Arcanon, and he's like, what do you think of Mufasa? And he said, okay, well, I'm going to make a call to Tori, right? And he's going to call, but suddenly then Mark calls. Yes, Mark is a part of this too. Oh, right, I should back up. There is something I did forget to mention. They were talking about during the thing with Leonard, they were talking about Courtney, again, from Team Magma, what we mentioned earlier, that she's paying for all this. Do they know anything? And Lizzie was mentioned, just as I mentioned, because she is from Hoenn as well, that she'll see if she can dig up anything on it. But back to the other one with Mark, because I just remember Lizzie through Mark. Somehow I always do that. He says, well, I called, I forget what her name was. She wasn't as an important character. Sorry, I don't see her very much, but she was a producer or something on the show. He said, we should do an interview on the Walter O'Hara. And then Michael said, are you trying to get me murdered? You want me, he was mad. He hates him, hates his guts, right? And so does everyone else, right? He said, well, I figured we could get our word out. If you want him to give another chance to put us under the, to twist it and make everyone hate us more, She said, the person promised he'd keep him in line this time, right? Like, Mark just wants to try to get everything out there, right? For people to see what really happened, and this could be their chance, right? For people to see it. And Michael said, okay, you talk to Chris and Cameron about this, and if I'm outnumbered, we'll do it. He said, okay. And then he looks at Mufasa. He's like, what am I going to do with him? Right? Mufasa just rolls over, wants a belly rub, or wants a rub, or, pettings, and I'm like, why can't there be more Mufasa? But, like, that's the thing lately with animals. For example, if I watch YouTube videos and see a cat or a dog, I'm like, oh, doggy, kitty, like, I just want to see more of that. Sorry for the content creators. Just lately, like, oh, he wants belly rubs. Oh, he's interrupted by Julia. Boo. Okay, I know, I'm sorry. It just didn't have enough adorable Mufasa in it. That's just the point. And they're talking, and then he said, what are you doing? He said, he realized that he had to make calls. So I'm going to make calls to Piper, your grandmother, Tori. She says, why? I said, you want me to murder you, or you want to kill me, or whatever? She said, come on, I promise I'll be surprised. I said, not going to happen. he is trying to plan the proposal, right? So he's just trying to keep that quiet with Julia. But he did also tell her he's putting Cameron in charge of the future meetings when it comes to the trial, which he's happy about letting people take the burden for him. And he hopes that eventually he'll be able to do that, right? So guys, I told you this was going to be a long chapter and overview. And I swear, I probably didn't get much of it correct. I got as much as I could, and I apologize if I didn't. But with a chapter that long and that many sections, like different point of views, it can be scattered a lot. So I did my best to recap the most important aspects of it. So if you enjoyed this chapter 12, give me a big thumbs up. And if you do this channel, like what you see, please subscribe and help this channel a lot. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you know when new videos are coming out. And I'll see you guys on my next video.